Being a guardsman was tough. Your life expectancy was pretty low. Fortunately, he was posted in the rear guard. Oh no. Guardsman Reginald here. Space Marine 2 is a great game, and I've had an awful lot of fun playing it. I really enjoy the rough and tumble fantasy of being the super big Space Marine man, beating all the bad guys up. There is an itch, however, for a certain fantasy to be fulfilled that Space Marine 2 could fill very easily. You see, ever since I got into 40k, a long time ago, in like end of 4th edition, there's always been an interest in the community in general of being able to play a game where you're just a guardsman facing against the odds. No one's ever really scratched that itch. The closest any game has ever come has been Darktide, which originally in the trailers looked like that's exactly what it was going to be, but it eventually became what we know today as a multi-classed game with lots of different things, including Ogren. The fantasy of a squad of guardsmen taking on the odds just isn't quite there in that game. But you know what's interesting? Space Marine 2 has guardsmen with all of the expected equipment, all of the necessary animations, and is essentially ready to go. So I'm going to make 3 proposals for how the guardsman fantasy could be fulfilled in Space Marine 2, without a lot of effort, mind you, so that we could get both the fantasy of being a Space Marine and the fantasy of being a guardsman in one game, possibly at the same time. That would be pretty cool. So I propose that in PvE operations mode, there be an additional class, the guardsman class. This class would come equipped with a lasgun, and a bayonet, and some frag grenades. Now, I'm not going to pontificate on all of the possible perks, but I do want to suggest the key components of this class. And this will be universal to all of my suggestions, so just bear with me here a second. As a class, the guardsman can use crack grenades, frag grenades, or even melta bombs. However, all of them have a 20% reduced radius and 20% less damage. We all know that the classic bolt pistol needs some buffs, taking between 1 and 2 headshots on a gaunt to kill it, and 3 to 5 body shots or so to kill it. So once that bolt pistol gets some buff, I think the lasgun lands in the correct place on time to kill at higher levels of the game, with around 2 to 3 headshots on a gaunt and 5 to 6 body shots on a gaunt. The lasgun should come with plenty of ammo in the magazine as well as in the reserve, so you can shoot it a whole bunch and not worry about it since that's the lasgun's strong suit. A guardsman should have 1 pip of armor, have no capacity to do gun strikes or executions, cannot parry or block incoming attacks from Majoris enemies, can block but not parry attacks coming in from Minoris enemies, can dodge any of those attacks, and has a special quicktime event when jumped on by Hormagaunts in much the way that the Lictor pounce attack works. You note that this actually already exists for guardsmen in-game as is. Finally, guardsmen all have a significantly reduced respawn rate compared to Space Marines. If memory serves, for most modes it's 60 seconds, and for difficulty 4 it's 120. For guardsmen, it should be 20 seconds. My vision is that you are going to die an awful lot and respawn an awful lot, and that's going to be just fine. And that's because as a guardsman, you are only going to have 1 wound, so you will always be on mortal wound. Additionally, any or all of the players in the lobby for the operations modes should be able to select guardsmen if they choose. With all this setup out of the way, let's do Proposal 1. Proposal 1 works like this. You spawn in as a guardsman. Along with you are 4 additional bot guardsmen. They follow you around or the other Space Marines around in your squad. Whatever, it's fine. The point is that they're there and they run along with you in the team to help fight stuff. They also have a 20-second respawn timer, but as bots, obviously if you and all of your teammates are dead or downed, the game is lost. These guardsman bots cannot pick up other Space Marines when they are down. So this idea means that the whole team could be as many as 15 guardsmen, which is totally within the realm of a normal guardsman squad, or an above average side guardsman squad anyway. And that would be really fun, and I think they should let us do it. Especially since all the assets are already there, why not let us have our fun? Option 2 is what I call the 3+3 mode. While 3-player co-op is definitely actually a really good number in some situations, there are times where I really wish I could bring some other friends into the fray. The idea here is that the operation would be started by the traditional 3 Space Marines, but your friends could join in as an additional 3 guardsmen and run alongside you. That way you could be doing a 6-player co-op game, but 3 of you would just be guardsmen, so it wouldn't throw the balance off too much. My final idea is by far the worst, but I would absolutely play this at least some of the time if it was on the table, which is just give me 1 guardsman and let me play that guardsman in replacement of a space marine so that I can just be a guardsman instead. I don't care if I die a whole bunch. It would just be really fun to do. Now, there are a whole bunch of other ways you could expand this idea and do perks and stuff like that. For example, there appears to be guardsman power sword weapons modeled in the game. Maybe I could have a power sword instead of just meleeing only with my bayonet. You could have different respawn rates on the table as perks, so you could get faster respawns or whatever. You could control your squad in some ways. Maybe you could use the ping system to specify specific targets and the whole squad would shoot at it instead of just you. I don't know. I don't want to make it too complex. I'd be perfectly happy if there are just some dumb bots running around like there are in campaign missions right now, and I was just one of the guardsmen, and if I died, I respawned real fast. That's sufficient for this to be a fun idea. I know for a fact that this is something that people would want because I have heard about it for so many years now. So, since it's relatively low cost to implement, I would like to suggest that someone make the effort and do it. If you like this idea, then I'm going to ask you to do something I'd normally avoid doing, which is share this video around, try to get other people to see it and like it, and talk about it, because maybe if it gains enough traction, we can actually see this come to fruition. If it doesn't get enough traction, well then I guess there wasn't enough market share for it, and it wouldn't be worth the effort, in which case, I guess the idea wasn't worth it after all. Thank you all so much for visiting. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.